If she craves you, she will never say it out loud. Women don't reveal desire with words, they reveal it through restraint, through subtle shifts in behavior, through the things they don't do. Most men miss these signals not because they aren't obvious enough, but because they're too busy looking for noise instead of noticing what's quiet. Attraction doesn't chase, it leans. And when a woman starts leaning toward you, her energy changes in ways she doesn't consciously control. In this video, I'll break down 7 hidden signs she secretly craves you, not the surface-level behaviors everyone talks about, but the psychological signals she shows when she's trying to stay composed. Stay until the end, because sign number 6 is the one most men misunderstand. And that misunderstanding is exactly why they lose the upper hand. One of the biggest mistakes men make when reading attraction is confusing attention with desire. Attention is cheap. Desire is selective. A woman can laugh with you, touch you, look at you, and still feel absolutely nothing beyond comfort or curiosity. And this is exactly where most men lose their clarity, because they treat the earliest signals as proof, instead of seeing them for what they are, filters. Let's start with the signs that feel exciting, but mean very little on their own. The first is eye contact. Yes, eyes matter, but eye contact alone is not desire. Many women are naturally expressive. They're taught from a young age to engage, to listen, to maintain connection through their gaze. A lingering look might feel intense to you, but to her, it may simply be presence, politeness, or habit. What men often do wrong is this: they catch one strong look, replay it in their mind, and begin to build a story around it. A story that says, she feels something. But desire doesn't reveal itself in a single moment. It reveals itself in patterns. A Stoic man does not react to one signal. He observes repetition. The second false positive is light touching. A hand on your arm, a playful push, fixing something on your shirt. Touch feels intimate, so the mind jumps to conclusions. But for many women, touch is not a sexual language, it's a social one. Some people communicate warmth physically the same way others do verbally. Here's the uncomfortable truth most men don't want to hear. A woman can touch you and still place you firmly in the category of safe, familiar, non-threatening. Touch only becomes meaningful when it changes over time, when it lingers longer than necessary, when it happens in moments where there is no social excuse for it. Until then, it's just contact, not craving. The third false positive is friendly teasing and laughter. Laughter feels like validation. It feels like chemistry. It feels like momentum. But laughter often means one thing and one thing only: she enjoys the interaction. Enjoyment is not attraction. Attraction is investment. A woman can laugh with you for hours and still feel no pull toward intimacy. Humor creates comfort, and comfort is neutral territory. In fact, many men unknowingly talk themselves out of attraction by becoming too entertaining, too agreeable, too easy. A Stoic man understands this distinction clearly. He doesn't confuse being liked with being wanted. Now here's the deeper problem with false positives, and this is critical. When a man believes attraction is already there, he changes his behavior. He leans in too fast. He explains himself too much. He starts chasing certainty instead of holding position. And that shift is felt immediately. Women are extremely sensitive to changes in emotional posture. The moment you start acting as if something is owed attention, affection, reassurance, the dynamic collapses. What once felt light becomes heavy. What once felt open becomes guarded. This is why false positives are dangerous. Not because they don't feel good, but because they make men lose composure. A man who misreads signals stops being grounded. He starts performing. Stoicism teaches us something very simple here. Do not act on impulse. Act on evidence. And evidence only appears when signals stack, not when they appear alone. Eye contact means nothing without follow-up. Touch means nothing without escalation. Laughter means nothing without emotional depth. If you react too early, you reveal impatience. If you assume too much, you reveal need. And need is the fastest way to dissolve attraction before it ever forms. So what should a man do instead? He stays neutral. He stays observant. He allows space for the interaction to breathe. A Stoic man does not rush clarity. He lets clarity come to him. He understands that real desire does not show itself through obvious excitement. It shows itself through consistency, adjustment, and restraint. And those signs only appear later when a woman begins to invest something that costs her more than a smile. Time, attention, emotional focus. Until then, the early signals are just that early. They are invitations to observe, not commands to act. Most men fail at this stage because they want certainty too soon. They want a guarantee. They want proof before it exists. And in trying to secure the outcome, they destroy the process. A man who understands attraction never chases reassurance. He allows interest to reveal itself naturally. Because the truth is this: if she truly craves you, you won't need to decode a single look or overanalyze a touch. Her behavior will begin to shift in ways that cost her comfort. And that's when the game changes. Attraction becomes real the moment it escapes conscious control. A woman can choose her words. She can manage her tone. She can even regulate her behavior to a point. But the body doesn't negotiate. It reacts. And this is where attraction starts to leak through in ways she never plans. One of the earliest subconscious signals is body orientation. When someone is emotionally neutral, their body stays closed or scattered. Feet point away. Shoulders drift. Attention floats. But when attraction begins to form, alignment appears. Her torso turns toward you. Her legs angle in your direction, even when her eyes look elsewhere. Her body stays anchored to where her interest is. This isn't politeness. It's instinct. The body naturally orients itself toward what feels safe, engaging, or desirable. And unlike words, this alignment happens without rehearsal. She may not even realize she's doing it, but her body has already chosen. A Stoic man notices this without reacting. He doesn't reward it. He doesn't chase it. He simply registers the shift. Another powerful leak appears through micro-adjustments. Small movements most people ignore. Straightening posture when you speak. Smoothing clothing. Adjusting hair. Exposing the neck or collarbone. These movements are not vanity. They're preparation. When attraction is present, the body subconsciously prepares itself to be seen more clearly. She wants to present her best angle. Her most receptive posture, not because she decided to impress you, but because her nervous system responded before her mind did. This is why these signals feel different from surface flirting. They're quieter, more fluid, less intentional, and that's exactly what makes them trustworthy. Now here's where most men make another critical mistake. They notice these signals and immediately lean in. They talk more. They explain themselves. They try to build on the moment. And in doing so, they disrupt the very tension that made the signal appear. Attraction grows in stillness, not pressure. A Stoic man understands this. He doesn't interrupt the leak. He lets it continue. Another subconscious tell lies in head position and eye behavior. When someone feels defensive or indifferent, their head stays upright or tilted away. But when attraction appears, the head subtly tilts. This exposes the neck, one of the most vulnerable areas of the body. It's not submission, it's openness. Eye behavior changes too. Glances become slower. Returns happen more often. There's less scanning of the room. She's no longer searching for stimulation, she's already found it. Again, this isn't something she plans. It happens when interest crosses from thought into sensation, and sensation is harder to control. There's also a noticeable shift in personal space. Most people maintain a comfortable distance by default, but when attraction forms, that distance shrinks without discussion. She stands a little closer. She lingers a moment longer. She doesn't rush to create space after interaction. What's important here is not the closeness itself, but the lack of urgency to retreat. Comfort is passive. Desire is magnetic. A Stoic man doesn't invade space. He notices when space dissolves on its own. Now, let's talk about the most misunderstood subconscious signal of all nervous calm. This is not anxiety. It's not awkwardness. It's a subtle alertness. Her movements may become more precise. Her reactions slightly delayed. Her attention sharper. This happens when attraction activates self-awareness. She becomes more conscious of how she's being perceived, not because she's insecure, but because the stakes have quietly risen. This is the moment where attraction becomes risk, and risk changes behavior. Here's the key distinction most men miss. If a woman feels nothing, she is relaxed without awareness. If she feels something, she is relaxed with attention. That difference is everything. At this stage, words still don't matter much. Compliments can be polite. Conversation can remain casual. On the surface, nothing dramatic has changed. But underneath, the system is already shifting. And the man who understands this does one thing differently than everyone else. He does not accelerate. He remains centered, measured, unreactive. Because the moment you rush, you force her back into control. You pull attraction out of the body and back into the mind. And the mind is where doubt lives. Stoicism teaches restraint not as passivity, but as power. When you don't chase confirmation, you allow attraction to deepen without interference. Subconscious signals are not invitations to act. They are indicators to hold your ground. And when you do, something interesting happens. She begins to invest, not with words, not with gestures, but with attention that costs her something. That's when attraction crosses the line into something heavier, something deliberate. And that's exactly what we'll break down next. Up to this point, attraction has been mostly automatic. Her body reacted. Her energy shifted. But now something more important happens. She begins to invest. And investment is where attraction becomes real, because it costs something. A woman can feel curious without consequence. She can feel chemistry without intention. But when she invests emotionally, she's making a choice. The first sign of emotional investment is how she compliments you. Surface compliments are easy. You look nice. That was funny. They're safe. They don't reveal much. But when a woman starts noticing who you are instead of how you look, something changes. She comments on your calm, your discipline, your way of thinking, the way you handle pressure or don't react when others do. These compliments require attention. They require observation. And they require vulnerability. Because when she names qualities like that, she's revealing what she values, and that's never casual. A Stoic man hears these compliments without absorbing them into his ego. He doesn't inflate. He doesn't deflect. He accepts them calmly, the same way he accepts criticism, with balance. The second sign of emotional investment appears in her voice. Most people speak with a neutral tone to the world. But when attraction deepens, the voice becomes selective, warmer, slower, more deliberate. There's a softness reserved for moments when she feels emotionally present. And this shift often happens without her noticing. Her voice becomes a bridge, a way to create intimacy without explicitly crossing a line. It's not flirtation. It's familiarity layered with intention. You'll notice something important here. This tone doesn't appear around everyone. It appears around you. That exclusivity is the signal. A Stoic man doesn't chase this intimacy. He allows it to exist naturally, because intimacy grows when it's not demanded. Another powerful sign of emotional investment is the creation of a shared internal world. Inside, jokes, references only the two of you understand, moments that feel private, even in public. This is subtle, but it's critical. When a woman starts building shared meaning with you, she's mentally separating you from the rest of her environment. You're no longer just someone she interacts with, you're someone she experiences with. This requires effort, and effort means priority. Now, here's where most men misread the situation. They think investment means certainty. It doesn't. Investment means risk, and risk creates tension. At this stage, a woman is aware she's leaning, but she's not fully committed. She's watching how you respond. Whether you stay grounded, whether you respect the space or rush to close it. This is where the dynamic often breaks. The moment a man senses emotional investment, he tries to lock it down. He pushes for clarity. He escalates verbally. He seeks reassurance. And in doing so, he removes the very thing that made the investment attractive: emotional freedom. A Stoic man does the opposite. He stays consistent. He stays present. He does not shift his behavior to secure the outcome. Why? Because emotional investment thrives when it's met, not managed. If she invests and you remain centered, she feels safe to invest more. If she invests and you overreact, she pulls back. This is the unspoken contract of attraction. Another signal of emotional investment is memory. She remembers details you didn't expect her to remember. Things you mentioned casually. Moments you assumed were insignificant. This isn't coincidence. It's focus. When someone remembers details, it means attention was allocated deliberately. And attention is one of the most valuable emotional currencies we have. At this point, attraction has moved beyond reaction. It has entered participation. She's no longer responding to what's happening. She's contributing to it. And contribution is costly. It requires emotional energy, mental presence, time. This is where the power dynamic begins to shift, not in your favor, but into balance. She's no longer neutral, but she's not surrendered either. She's engaged, and engagement creates expectation. She begins to notice how you show up, how you respond, how you lead or hesitate. This is why Stoic restraint matters most here. If you remain composed, her investment deepens. If you seek control, it collapses. Because emotional investment is fragile in its early stages, it needs space to solidify. A Stoic man understands that desire doesn't need to be forced forward. It needs to be allowed to settle. And when it does, the next shift happens quietly. She starts reorganizing her space, her time, her attention, not because you asked, but because she wants you closer without saying it. And that's where attraction stops being emotional and becomes behavioral. Attraction becomes undeniable the moment it starts reorganizing space. Up until now, everything could still be explained away as coincidence. Body language, tone, compliments, emotional presence, all of it lived inside interaction. Nothing had to change externally. But when desire deepens, it demands something tangible: space, time, priority. This is where attraction stops being internal and starts shaping reality. One of the clearest signs of this shift is when she begins to separate you from the group. It may happen subtly. She suggests stepping outside for air. She positions herself so conversation narrows to just the two of you. She pulls you into side moments while others fade into the background. This isn't about secrecy. It's about focus. Crowds dilute intimacy. Attraction seeks concentration. When a woman creates physical or conversational separation, she's signaling that your presence holds more weight than the environment around her. A Stoic man doesn't rush to interpret this as victory. He understands it as a test of composure. Because the moment separation happens, she's watching what you do with it. Do you become louder? Do you fill the silence? Do you push forward? Or do you remain grounded, letting the space speak for itself? The second escalation comes through private communication. Group chats are safe. Public interactions are neutral, but private messages are deliberate. When she reaches out, one-on-one, especially without necessity, she's making a decision. She's allocating attention without witnesses. That choice carries risk, social, emotional, and psychological. This is important. Private communication is not about frequency. It's about initiation. If she starts conversations that don't need to happen, asks questions without a practical reason, or continues threads that could easily end, she's investing focus. And focus is never accidental. A Stoic man does not overvalue this. He doesn't respond instantly to validate it. He doesn't pull it closer to feel secure. He treats private communication the same way he treats everything else, with balance. Because when you overreact to access, you devalue presence. Another strong indicator of priority shift is when she begins to create reasons to be near you. Not excuses, reasons. She adjusts her routine. Her timing changes. She finds herself ending up where you are. These moments rarely come with explanation. They don't need one. Desire doesn't justify itself. It reorganizes quietly. This is where attraction crosses a psychological threshold. She is no longer reacting to interaction. She is shaping conditions, and that takes intention. Here's where many men fail. They interpret this closeness as permission to escalate aggressively. They move too fast. They assume readiness. They confuse availability with surrender. But a Stoic man recognizes something deeper. Closeness increases sensitivity. The closer someone moves emotionally, the more carefully they observe. She's not just enjoying proximity, she's evaluating how you handle it. Do you crowd her? Do you take more than is offered? Do you shift your energy to secure the moment, or do you remain steady? The answer determines whether attraction stabilizes or retreats. Now let's talk about the most revealing sign in this chapter: time allocation. Time is the one resource that cannot be faked. People spend it where value exists. When a woman starts making time for you without obligation, rearranging plans, extending conversations, lingering longer than expected, she's expressing priority. This doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. She stays a few minutes longer than planned. She delays leaving. She checks in unexpectedly. These are not accidents. They're micro-choices. And micro-choices reveal macro interest. A Stoic man never demands time. He notices when it's given freely. Here's the key insight most men miss at this stage. When a woman prioritizes you, she is not giving you control, she is offering access. Access is fragile. The moment you try to claim it, it disappears. That's why composure matters more now than ever. The correct response to priority is not escalation, it's consistency. If you remain the same man, she leaned toward calm. Grounded, self-directed, her investment feels safe. If you change to secure the outcome, attraction collapses under pressure. Now we reach the core truth of this chapter. When attraction deepens, a woman doesn't want more people around you. She wants less. Less noise. Less competition, less distraction. She's not trying to isolate you from the world. She's trying to experience you without interference. This is not possessiveness. It's focus, seeking intimacy. And intimacy requires reduction. A Stoic man understands this instinct without exploiting it. He doesn't cut others off. He doesn't create dependency. He doesn't leverage priority for power. He simply holds his center. Because when you don't need exclusivity to feel confident, exclusivity begins to form naturally. This is the moment where attraction becomes self-sustaining. She doesn't need encouragement. She doesn't need reassurance. She needs clarity. Clarity that you are stable, predictable in your calm, unmoved by access or absence. That clarity deepens attraction more than any move ever could. And now, something subtle but powerful begins to happen. She starts monitoring herself, her reactions, her impulses, her emotional exposure, because the stakes have risen. She's no longer just curious. She's invested. And when investment meets uncertainty, tension appears. That tension doesn't create chaos, it creates control. Which brings us to the next stage. The moment attraction becomes something she actively manages, rather than something that simply happens. Attraction is calm at the surface until it isn't. Up to this point, desire has shown itself through choices, attention, time, space, priority. Everything still looked composed, measured, reasonable. But when attraction deepens into craving, something changes inside the body. Tension appears. Not fear, not anxiety, but a quiet biological alertness. This is where nervous energy enters the picture. One of the clearest signs of real desire is fidgeting. Small, restless movements that serve no purpose. Touching hair, adjusting jewelry, shifting posture unnecessarily. These movements are not habits. They are releases. When attraction rises, the nervous system activates. Energy builds, and the body looks for subtle ways to discharge it without drawing attention. Here's the key difference most men miss. Flirting is expressive. Craving is restrained. A woman who is casually flirting is relaxed. Her movements are smooth, confident, intentional. She's in control of herself. But when she craves someone, control becomes effort, and effort leaks. Fidgeting is the body saying, "I feel more than I want to show." A Stoic man doesn't react to this. He doesn't comment on it. He doesn't escalate to relieve the tension. He lets it exist. Because tension is not a problem. It's proof. Another biological signal appears through nervous laughter. This is not laughter caused by humor. It's laughter caused by release. She laughs a little louder than the moment requires. She laughs when nothing funny was said. She laughs, then quickly composes herself. This happens when emotional arousal spikes unexpectedly. The laugh becomes a pressure valve. And here's what matters. She often becomes aware of it immediately after. You'll see the correction, the pause, the recalibration. That self-correction is crucial. It means she noticed the leak and tried to contain it. Attraction that doesn't matter, doesn't need control. Craving does. Now let's move to the most revealing signal in this chapter, reaction management. When a woman begins to crave you, she stops reacting freely. She thinks before responding. She measures her words. She delays replies not to play games, but to regain balance. This is the moment where desire becomes conscious. She knows something is happening, and she's deciding how much of it she's willing to show. This is where many men make their most damaging mistake. They sense hesitation and push. They fill the silence. They escalate verbally. They chase reassurance. And in doing so, they remove the woman's ability to manage her own attraction, which immediately shuts it down. A Stoic man does the opposite. He becomes quieter, more grounded, more contained, because he understands something fundamental. The more she tries to control herself, the more power you gain by remaining still. Stillness creates contrast. If she's regulated and you're calm, tension stabilizes. If she's regulated and you become reactive, tension breaks. Craving thrives in unresolved space. Another biological tell appears in micro-freezes. Brief pauses before speaking. Moments where she seems to consider something, then doesn't say it. Glances that stop halfway. These micro-freezes are internal negotiations. She's deciding whether to reveal more or pull back. This is not uncertainty about you. It's uncertainty about herself. And that distinction matters. A woman who feels nothing doesn't pause. She responds automatically. Pauses appear when emotion interferes with habit. At this stage, attraction has become self-aware. And self-awareness introduces risk. Risk of exposure. Risk of imbalance. Risk of losing control. That's why nervous energy intensifies. Now, here's the most important insight of this entire chapter. Attraction creates tension. Craving tries to manage it. Flirting enjoys tension. Craving contains it. This is the line that separates surface interest from deep desire. Flirting wants reaction. Craving watches response. When a woman flirts, she's expressive. When she craves, she's observant. She notices how you handle silence, how you handle pauses, how you handle uncertainty. She's not testing you consciously, but she's measuring you instinctively. And this is where Stoic presence becomes decisive. If you chase resolution, you fail the test. If you demand clarity, you lose leverage. If you over-communicate, you collapse polarity. But if you stay grounded, something powerful happens. Her nervous system calms in your presence. Not because desire fades, but because safety appears. And safety deepens craving. This is counterintuitive for most men. They think attraction grows through intensity. In reality, it grows through containment. The man who can hold tension without needing to release it becomes magnetic, because he signals emotional capacity. He shows he is not overwhelmed by desire, his or hers. At this stage, attraction is no longer playful. It's serious. And seriousness changes behavior. She becomes more selective with her reactions, more intentional with her presence, more careful with her exposure. And that's when the final shift occurs. She stops managing the interaction and starts managing herself. That moment is rare and unmistakable, and it leads directly to the final sign, the one only men with stillness recognize. There is one sign of craving that never looks dramatic. No flirting, no chasing, no emotional display. And that's why most men miss it. Because this sign only appears when a woman feels something deep enough to protect herself from it. The final sign of craving is this. She stops trying to influence you and starts adjusting herself around you. Let that sink in. Attraction seeks reaction. Craving respects gravity. When a woman is merely interested, she tries to pull you closer. She flirts. She probes. She tests. She wants to see how you respond. But when she craves you, the strategy changes. She becomes careful. Not cold, not distant, but controlled. She no longer pushes or pulls. She observes. And observation is power. At this stage, she's no longer trying to create attraction. She's trying not to lose balance. She watches how you handle silence, how you respond without reassurance, how you remain steady without seeking validation. Because now, the question in her mind is no longer, do I like him? It becomes, can I trust myself around him? This is where true polarity forms. A woman who craves you becomes more selective with her exposure. She reveals less, not more. She slows down emotional expression. She chooses restraint over intensity. Not because desire faded, but because it deepened. Desire that feels safe can be playful. Desire that feels powerful becomes careful. This is the sign men confuse with loss of interest. She texts less, but with intention. She speaks less, but with weight. She doesn't fill space, she lets it exist. And in that space, she studies you. This is not manipulation. It's self-regulation. She's managing her own emotional gravity. A Stoic man recognizes this instantly because he doesn't need constant engagement to feel secure. He understands that stillness is not absence. It's containment. Now, here's the crucial distinction. When attraction is shallow, a woman tries to control the interaction. When craving appears, she tries to control herself. That shift is everything. She becomes aware that you affect her internal state. And instead of trying to change you, she adjusts her proximity, her pacing, her reactions. She may pause before responding. She may choose her words carefully. She may pull back slightly, not to test you, but to stabilize herself. This is where weak men panic. They chase, they explain, they demand clarity, and in doing so, they break the spell. Because craving only survives in the presence of a man who doesn't need to resolve tension immediately. A Stoic man does not chase certainty. He allows truth to reveal itself. At this stage, something subtle but powerful happens. She starts respecting your stillness, not your looks, not your status, not your words, your stillness, your ability to remain unchanged, whether she leans in or steps back. This is rare. Most men react emotionally to access. They become eager when attention increases. They become anxious when it decreases. But the man who holds center, who neither advances prematurely nor retreats defensively, becomes the axis around which attraction stabilizes. And that is intoxicating, because now she's no longer evaluating attraction. She's evaluating capacity. Can you hold space without pressure? Can you lead without force? Can you remain grounded without control? These are not conscious questions. They're felt, and they're felt most strongly in silence. That's why this sign is invisible to men who rely on external validation. They think attraction should look obvious, loud, expressive. But true craving is quiet. It's a woman choosing restraint over expression, because expression feels risky. It's her stepping back, not to create distance, but to maintain balance. And here's the paradox. The less you chase at this stage, the more secure she feels leaning toward you, because she senses you don't need her reaction to remain stable. And stability is the foundation of desire. This is why Stoicism matters here more than anywhere else in the video. Stoicism is not emotional coldness. It's emotional capacity. It's the ability to feel without spilling, to hold tension without releasing it impulsively. When a woman craves you, she's not looking for intensity. She's looking for containment. And containment feels like power. Now listen carefully. The moment you recognize this sign, the most powerful move you can make is nothing. You don't escalate. You don't clarify. You don't secure. You stay exactly where you are, because she is already doing the work. She's managing her desire. She's regulating her exposure. She's adjusting herself to your presence. And that means the polarity is correct. If you disrupt it, you lose leverage. If you respect it, attraction deepens naturally. This is the sign that separates men who hope from men who know. Hope needs reassurance. Knowing doesn't. A man who knows doesn't rush the moment. He allows it to mature, because he understands that the strongest desire is not the one that explodes. It's the one that steadies itself around you. And that's the final truth of attraction. Real craving doesn't chase reaction. It respects stillness. And the man who can remain still becomes unforgettable. If she craves you, you won't need to win her over. You won't need to convince. You won't need to perform. Your only job is not to destroy the advantage by seeking certainty too soon. Let silence work. Let restraint reveal truth. Let her